So it's good to meet you.
You too, Dean. Absolutely. My pleasure.
So your role is VP Product and Brand at Fortress. What is that?
Right.
What does all that mean?
Yeah, so Vice President of Product and Brand. I have three different departments that all flow through me. So it's the marketing department, it is the product development department, and then also the innovation R&D department. So all three of those from the product brand standpoint, they all flow up through me.
Oh, cool. So those three departments, can you tell us what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So, give you a little bit of background. So, the transition of Fortress has really been the biggest part of really what Fortress has become in 2020. So, maybe I'll give you a little bit of background, what really developed into having these three different segments roll into product and brand, as we're calling them. So, Fortress in the past, before April of 2019, had five different business units. And these five different business units really operated, or they did operate, as their own entity. So from top down P&L responsibilities, the whole kind of platform there with Fortress, then it has evolved into taking those different business units and merging them into one business platform. And with that really brought the transition of how do we take all the things we do really well within the railing segment or the fencing segment or these different business units, and how do we roll that into one platform, one company? And a lot of people didn't know that. So, it's a definite move for Fortress. And the reason for that move is twofold. Number one, making sure that we're covering with the right resources, the right roles, and being able to branch into different markets that we really see the crossover capabilities there. And then number two, how do we scale the business? So within these smaller segments, you could only scale so far. So marketing, as an example, Dean, was used as more of an internal type agency. So it would be, hey, marketing, we need you to make this flyer, or we need you to make this type of layout. And they would go do it and they would execute. So they weren't really driving the bus, if you will, where my background, I came from the timber tech days. I've been in the industry for years. I'm very used to we're a marketing company that also sells products, right? Not taking the Trex model to the nth degree, but right, the marketing department now, we're transitioning that to where we've rebranded. So everything you see now, it's Fortress Building Products, right? We have railing, we have fencing, we have decking, we have framing, we have fasteners. So all those things are still there, but the brand message now is Fortress Building Products. And that's really what's transitioning and what's going on with the big push. Brander, obviously, as you've seen, a new agency our agency we've hired this year, really partnered well with them and really taking this to the next level with Fortress. Within the product development innovation side, I kind of talked to those together for a second. Excitement is through the roof. I'll tell you, in the midst of this chaos right now, the reason I joined Fortress last year was for the opportunity to grow. I'm a product geek at heart. I started as a small little railing product manager back in 2007, and just transitioned throughout the industry and different areas, different companies, and really then positioned myself now where I love to just deliver solutions to the market. So within innovations and product, our number one focus is where do we see an opportunity to deliver a solution. And that's what Fortress is really all about. We want to be innovative in everything we do. So it doesn't matter which segment we're looking at. You've seen some of our new product launches this year on the two-step side or the traditional distribution side, where we've brought an AL13 home with different infill options. We've introduced new decking lines into the market. And then on the fencing segment, we just introduced two new lines on that side with Athens Commercial. So the aluminum answer into the commercial world. And then stepping into that high security platform with Aries. So any of your government buildings, your agencies, your embassies, a lot of your protection agencies now that have, say, data rooms and databases, those types of things. So really moving into where we saw an opportunity to take some of our core competencies and said, okay, where's a market opportunity that we haven't been in before? So now with this structure, it gives that ability. So we're looking at it with our eyes wide open. We're looking at the market as a complete global segment, if you will. instead of just saying, okay, here's what we've always done. Let's go make a better mousetrap. We're saying, let's get out of the mousetrap and look for other opportunities. So this alignment has allowed us to do so.
So our audience is architects and owners and developers, obviously in the commercial space, commercial architecture. So what are ways that you would work with them to make sure that they know everything they need to about your product line and they could be really effective?
Absolutely. It's a great question. So we have an internal team that is a little bit different than any other company that I've been around before. We have a direct specification team, and we have that team that is doing those hands-on CEU courses nonstop with all of our different product lines. So the specifications team is working directly day in and day out with the architectural world. When bids come through, we're actually processing those. We're looking at the opportunities to share with others what products we have. So that specification team, they are kind of a combination of specifications and inside sales, if you will, because they have all that product knowledge. So they're able to reach out to an architectural firm and a group and say, hey, I see that you have this project out for bid. One thing that we're able to do with Fortress that is a little different than others, based upon how many different product types, say, are in an architectural spec, we're able to cover that category. So we have that team that is on call, even in this environment, they're on call every day, looking at opportunities, talking with architectural firms, and still delivering CEU courses. We're doing online webinars on a daily right now, and making sure that we're just staying in front of everyone and advising everyone. So we have a whole department dedicated to that.
So in the commercial architectural landscape, what are types of buildings that are your sweet spot that you should definitely be looked at?
Sure. A lot of the multifamily and growing even into that retail space, kind of that combination space that you see. You may have apartments above, retail space below, restaurants that kind of merge into that. But then also even to your hotels. So a lot of your hotels with balconies and different types of, even you're in commercial space where they're doing that traditional type building. So your architectural buildings, when they specify some type of railing structure, or even some moving into our type of framing structure, those are areas of where we're really starting to take off. Another segment in that commercial space that is taking off for us that we didn't even realize until we got into products like an Aries and that high security are things such as when you're building a power grid and you're putting up power stations and they want to keep all those secure, or your different agencies that are building a lot of your database rooms of where they put all these computer servers and those types of things, and they want to secure those buildings. So those are coming across. It may be governmental, that is commercial, or in that regular commercial channel, but we're seeing a lot of those different product lines or product requests come in now that really we never played in those spaces before. So definitely moving into those markets.
I'm thinking recreational and sports facilities that need to seal off the property.
Yes, that is a huge platform. So your football stadiums, your baseball stadiums, we're seeing that across the board. We had a football, we've done some football stadiums even in the Denver markets and stuff recently where we've expanded. So a lot of those commercial spaces, because it kind of starts to the outside and works its way in, where, hey, we need a fencing for the perimeter. So you're talking commercial fencing in those. Then all of a sudden there's other opportunities that develop because, as you know, in an architectural space, if you look at one supplier and they're able to bring you fencing, and then you realize, oh, we have a boardwalk that's leading up to our restaurants or whatever else is in this platform. Oh, I can get decking from that same manufacturer, or I need cable rail to go with that. So it's really that total solution platform now that Fortress can bring into the commercial space instead of just one or two items that you can cover.
Oh, very cool. So you help with wayfaring and everything that you need?
Absolutely. So, the whole perspective, and I started with this, that transition to Fortress building products instead of individual segments, the key focus was providing a total solution. You can look at that holistically in terms of products, but you can also look at it in terms of services with our products. So the specification team that we were just talking about, being able to go to an architect group and say, not only can we help you with the takeoff and the way that this is put together, all the specifications, making sure that that's very clear, but now we have a plethora of products that we can also offer you as an agency. And that total solution and that mindset instead of saying, I need this company for fencing, I need to find somebody else for deck or somebody else for framing. Now we as Fortress can just bring that total solution as a package in the beginning. And it really makes that an easier transition and that pickup to get those bids or to make it very, awareness of the brands that we have.
Very cool. You mentioned framing. So can you give a little bit more color on that?
Sure. That's probably, and not probably, that's one of the most exciting product lines we've launched in a long time. Evolution Frame is really, when I started in the category, Dean, I started in 2007 in that composite decking world. And, we were still in that conversion phase, right? We're still converting from wood to this day. But if you think of how that conversion really took place from the early 2000s to this day with composite decking, my opinion and what we're seeing in the market is that deck framing and that type of product is going to continue to transition and convert in that same type of platform. And what we're seeing is that in the beginning, that first couple of jobs for contractors, when they say, okay, I'm going to use a steel framing, their mind goes to what they always knew was steel framing, right? The I-beams, seeing somebody on a skyscraper building it together, if they're not comfortable with it. But if you look around the globe, Australia, different parts of the country, New Zealand, that metal framing or steel framing is the way it's done. The United States happens to be behind on that, and now it's starting to slowly pick up. So the Evolution product line, we brought a complete package again. So I told you about delivering a solution. The one thing that really separates the Evolution product line from others is it's complete. So starting from the ledger all the way to your stairs, how do you lay everything out? How do you finish? Is it a curved deck? Is it a two-story? How do you support everything from your beam structure all the way down to your footers and foundation? We have everything from the brackets to the beams, stairs, stair trays, everything that you would need or a contractor would need to do that complete build as if they were using wood. So a lot of the features now and that transition, same thing that we saw in composite decking, was it took a while because I'm so used to using 5-quarter treated. This is what I've always done. Well, as you're seeing decks being put on where you're using a cap composite, you're using a PVC deck, doesn't matter whose it is. And that's the same way we feel on the Fortress framing side of it. We don't care what deck it is. We just want to make sure that we're putting a sound, substantial platform underneath it. So if you're going to spend $25,000, $30,000 for a composite or a PVC type deck, the first thing that's going to change on you is your treated framing material underneath. It's going to dry, it's going to twist, it's going to warp. So eliminating that, where in year 5, your homeowners, or if you're on a commercial site, right? We have some right now that we're replacing the actual joist on a commercial decking around a hotel pool with our Evolution framing joist. Just because now you got a full 2-inch, you got a 2x6 actual frame that this is going to set on. It's not going to twist, it's not going to warp. Years down the road, it's going to be the same as the time you installed it. So just that intuitive platform and converting everybody and getting their mind around it, Evolution has really taken off this year in 2020.
Okay, before we move on to something else, what about railing? Give more definition on what your offerings are, because it could be,
it's a broad range. But what I will tell you, Fortress started as a metal railing company. That's how Fortress started in the early days. I've been on the market for about 19 years now as Fortress. And the metal side of the business is where we really focus. So we have 2 different lines. If you look at it in terms of material types, we have our steel platform. The staple for Fortress is your FE26, which FE stands for steel, so you understand that. But FE26 is the kind of lifeline that really originated with Fortress. So that steel platform and the ability to cover all multiple different types of infills, whether it's glass, whether it's traditional baluster, whether it's vertical cable, whether it's horizontal cable, that offering is there also in a residential and a commercial platform with FE26 Plus. So being able to transition throughout the category from residential to high-end commercial, we cover that. The same thing is true then when you step into the aluminum side. So as aluminum has become more and more available and the ability to manufacture aluminum in a similar setup, that has really taken off. So we started with AL13 Home, or with AL13, and then last year introduced AL13 Home, And as you know, in 2020, we've added more infill options to AL13 home. So now we have this ability to reach different platforms, whether it be price driven, whether it be an infill option, whether it be look, weight, those things all come into play. The biggest thing that separates Fortress from anybody else in the category when it comes to rail is that complete panelized system. So as an installer, you have the ability now, let's say I want to install a horizontal cable platform, where normally that's pulling individual cables, that's putting all those brackets and buckles in place. We offer that to the market in a complete panelized system. So when it shows up either in a 6-foot or an 8-foot measurement, you trim the ends to fit whatever your opening is, and that sits in place. You mount your brackets, you set it in place, and you're done. So that speed of installation, the ability to take something that's very intricate and usually very difficult, like a horizontal cable application or a vertical cable, and just deliver that to the market, that's another solution that I was talking to you about earlier, just delivering a solution when there is a problem. So that's our railing in a quick perspective there.
Interesting. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known the breadth. So what we've talked about, is it the same thing as the Fortress 2020 vision plan, or is that different?
Yeah, the Fortress 2020 vision plan is a little what we started to go into. So taking the different business units, breaking it down into one company, but then it's a little bit deeper than that, Dean. It's really setting up each individual platform of the company to be successful and to grow and to scale. And what I mean by that is from your customer service team to accounting to marketing to innovation. Doesn't matter what group or department it is, it's bridging all those together. So we're all working on the same priorities and one uniform approach. Now bringing that brand and growing that brand awareness of Fortress building products rather than the focus of an individualized product line, which is where we were in the past. That transition is that Vision 2020. So getting Fortress out there, growing the awareness of Fortress, but really positioning it, our underlying message is we really care about how people build and live globally. And that goes from everything we do, the way that we manufacture. We have manufacturing partners, in China. We have manufacturing partners in South Africa. We have them in the United States. So we really are a global company of where we look to expand, how we look to grow. And that's all part of that Fortress 2020 vision.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. But you're in a competitive space.
Absolutely.
What are 2 or 3 things, maybe you've already covered, that give you a competitive advantage?
Absolutely. So the number one thing that I would say at Fortress is our speed of innovation. That is something that I hold very dear. I know Matt does, our CEO and president. But from a company perspective, when we see a problem or we go out and we investigate to find a problem, we have an innovation group that does nothing but focus on how do we develop new concepts, new innovations to bring to market. The thing that I like most about Fortress is our discipline around innovation. So making sure we're bringing the right things to market on time, delivering that innovation, that truly has been the separating factor in a lot of key competitive platforms. And that really boils down, Dean, to like the brackets that we make, right? We make patented type platforms that others can't move into that space with that type of innovation. We protect ourselves and we plant a seed as where it's a Fortress product offering, but it's driven from the innovation and design of those products. So that would be number one. From that, the second thing, and we just talked about this on railing, but this is a huge separator. When you can offer a complete pre-welded system, we have hinge pin technology, which allows the products to rack as well. So if you think one of the most difficult installs on a railing system is usually your stairs, right? You got to measure your angles and a component system. You're cutting everything, measuring. Well, we show up to the job site with a 6-foot panel that's completely rackable. So if you're trying to get that 37.5-degree rake on your stairs, and instead of measuring and trying to figure everything out component by component, you have one system, it's ready, and it racks on its own. So everything lines up, your balusters are still aligned, you cut your 4 ends, you put it in your brackets, and you're done. So that ease of installation through that innovation we talked about would be the other separating factor. When it's a competitive facing and you're pulling out balusters and individual top and bottom rails versus somebody who's installing a platform that is a complete kit, a complete railing system, they have to take it out of the package, cut the ends, put it in place, they're done. That speed and innovation is just second to none. The third thing that I would throw out to you is our ability to enter different markets. This is something that really drove me and excited me about being here. So there's some things that I won't talk about today, but there are markets that we are looking at entering that may make you go, oh, wow, I didn't know Fortress could get into those markets. So we have partnerships with manufacturers throughout the country, ourselves, the ability when we have people on the ground in different parts of the world, we have the ability to enter markets. So when you think of anything from decking, we weren't in 2 years ago, right? There's different fencing platforms we were not in even last year when you talk high security, moving into those realms. There's different spaces, whether it be cladding, whether it be pergolas, whether it be decks inside of a box that we're shipping through different platforms now as the category is changing. We have that ability to move quick. And that is the third thing that I would really identify as our ability to reach different segments, different product categories, and deliver with a nice speed of that innovation to the market.
Cool. Okay. So we mentioned before about the group that works with architects, inside knowledgeable. So someone watching this, they want to now ask further questions, really connect with your company. What's the route they should take?
Yeah, they actually, absolutely. So they should go on the fortressbp.com website, and there's a direct link at the bottom that's connect us, and you just send a message to that. And what that will do, if you're an architect or any type of specifier, put in there that you are an architect or a specifier, and then our specifications team would follow right back up with direct phone call. So we can take that route. That's an easiest way if you're just looking on the website and able to connect there. Obviously, we have direct connections that I'm more than willing to share with everybody to have that interaction with our specifications team.
Okay, great. Anything we didn't talk about that we should have?
No, I would just say, Dean, very excited about the opportunity. Thank you for this.
Sure.
Fortress is, we're very excited about what the future looks like. So in the midst of, all the chaos that we're all dealing with, I haven't been off of a phone call yet today, including you. We're continuing to push forward. So, early in the morning, we're on with our teams across the world. We're talking with our teams in China or South Africa early in the morning to offset that time difference. We're continuing to innovate and move the ball forward. So as things are changing in our environment, I do see that as part of our future now. I think this situation we're in right now is just driving it further, where that online presence, the ability to be in that e-commerce and retail space, and those things are becoming more and more important. They were before. I think they're going to be even more important afterwards, of accessing information, ease of communication. And that's where Fortress is really focused during this time. How do we get better in all those areas? So this is a very humbling experience for all of us at Fortress, all of us across the country, but it's also a time of growth. And we're staying extremely positive and pushing for growth during this time.
Oh, that's great, because you hear two different sides, right? You hear one side is, hey, we're freezing spending, we're cutting back, this is too uncertain. And then you hear the other side is, this is an incredible opportunity for us to put in the stuff we need to.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that, if you look at the history of Fortress, the ability to remain nimble, I already gave you the three key things, so I won't throw a fourth in there, but that ability to remain nimble, not only financially, but be able to shift focus quickly. You can get really bogged down into, hey, we're going to get into one product line or into a segment of the industry, and you just put all your focus there, where, we have an innovative leader. Fortress is based upon innovation. That's kind of how it came to market, by taking, stair parts of the interior and making them in a bulk platform. How do we do that back in the early 90s? And that's how Fortress kind of started. And we still carry that same mindset of innovation, focus. The old Wayne Gretzky, you want to skate to where the puck is going. That's how we like to focus all the time. Instead of living in the moment, we're always looking ahead at what's next. So that's a great feeling to have at Fortress.
Yeah, it must be great working there. Good culture. I like that.
It is. We've been through a change curve like everybody else. So you have your ups and downs, Dean, of, hey, this is a big change. And, the business, we literally changed the business 180 degrees. So coming out of 2019 to 2020, everybody did their own thing, had their own way of operating. And now it just brought all that together. So the ability to scale now is great. the ability to cross-functionally use other departments, and just expand that knowledge and move quicker. That's all there now. So we're very excited about what the future holds.
Great. Well, thanks for doing this, Toby. Great to spend time with you.
Appreciate it, Dean. Thank you very much.